everybody, and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. You know who I am. Guess who's back? Dan is back on the channel. Dan, how are you doing, mate? Long time no see.
Yeah, it took me a while. I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, we've obviously got the 5K on the channel, so everyone that's subscribed so far, thank you so much. We're building. I brought the man on because January transfer window is right round the corner, and I thought I need a geezer that knows his stats, that knows his players, and of course Dan is that man. We're going to be discussing West Ham's potential January transfer targets. If we get anyone in, obviously it's always dubious with West Ham whether we sign anyone or whether we complain that we haven't got anyone in. But nonetheless, we've done the homework. Should we start with Josh King, mate? I mean, the rumour was circling around in August and hanging around.
Yeah, no, it's been in the pipeline a while, hasn't it, Josh King? I know Bournemouth have been holding off playing him to protect him and wrap him in cotton wool and stuff. But at the same time, me and you said before this, before we came on live, the fact that, if he's not getting any game time and we want him to come in, if Antonio or Haller gets injured, touch wood they don't, then he's going to have to step right in. And you do question whether he's going to be fit enough. But, the same token, he's got a lot of ability. He scored goals in the Premier League. I think last season, only Mikel Antonio had more goal contributions than him. So, he's clearly got abilities, with him and Callum Wilson. For the last few seasons, they've been established and they're good strikers. So I think it'd be a good signing to have, definitely.
I think it's a no-brainer. Like, I know we said this in August as well. We were like, why are we not going to sign Josh King? And to be fair, it was kind of between him and Ben Rama. And obviously Ben Rama, we signed him and we haven't really seen too much of him so far. But Josh King, in terms of his movement, in terms of what he can offer, versatility as well, can come to that left-hand side, can play up front, can stretch defences. We obviously watched Chelsea last night. And that game was crying out for someone to stretch defences. I mean, how are you feeling about Josh King? Do you feel the same? He's that guy that can give us a bit of a different look up front?
Yeah, I think he's versatile in himself, isn't he, mate? He's one of them that he can play left wing, central, or on the right. So I think to have someone like that, he's not necessarily really quick. He's just very strong, isn't he? And his athleticism kind of makes him a bit more powerful. And I think, if you haven't got Antonio in that team, you definitely need someone like a Josh King who's going to stretch Chelsea and hurt them because, Ben Rama's good, but he's not that quick, is he, off the ball?
Yeah.
He's quick on the ball. So you need someone who's deceptively quick, can make runs in behind. And Josh King is one of them, and he's very, very sound as well, probably more sounder than Mikel Antonio. So to have someone like Josh King, in games like that and games, against Brighton this week would be beneficial, and I think it's needed, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think like a couple of games I've watched this season, I'm sure you feel the same, where we say we need someone up front with a bit of pace, and we've obviously only got Allaire because Antonio's injured, and we're sitting here discussing whether Bowen plays as a 9, and obviously that's not really what West Ham need to be doing. We need the right squad depth to be able to play in the system that's going to suit us.
Exactly, mate. I think Bowen and Ben Rama could play as false 9s, but you got to be careful, haven't you? If they're playing well on the wings like Bowen is, Bowen's had a good season, then you need to stick him there and keep your faith in him. It's just for me, we both agreed before this that you need someone like Arnautovic, not Arnautovic.
Yeah, people are going to get mad now, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, the views are going to go down now, mate. No, but someone like him who can just be a pain to the defenders. Because if you watch last night, Haller wasn't, I said to you before this, for Haller's physique and athleticism and what he's capable of, for me, in my opinion, he doesn't throw himself about enough. He should have been a pain for Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's 6 foot, Haller's 6'4", 6'3". So for me, you need, it would have been better having someone like a Josh King or Antonio or Arnautovic, someone like that last night to really hurt them, pick up the dirty work and just be a pain all night. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's get into the stats, man. Let's get into the stats.
Well,
here we go. These are the Josh King stats from last season. And listen, like you look at it, 26 appearances isn't that much. He didn't play as frequently for Bournemouth. Obviously, a stop-start season as well with Project Restart. I mean, do you want to run us through these stats, mate? Anything particularly impressing you?
You know what? I thought it was the dribbles that really impressed me, mate. Because obviously, as a forward, you think, they're just going to feed off scraps and not necessarily really going to complete many successful dribbles. But that again highlights his versatility, the fact that he can come off the left or the right and cut inside and look to be dangerous. And he's got that close control for quite a big man. I think he's about 6'1", mate, if I'm honest with you. So I think his ability to have that close control and his strength as well is really important. And obviously, his shot creating actions are decent in the Bournemouth team. They have been consistently for the last few seasons, and his crosses as well. He can get into wide positions and even feed them into Antonio or the other way around. So I think to have that versatility, mate, highlights him as an experienced Premier League player that is a no-brainer, like you said, that we need to have rather than go for a gamble in January like Sima, when he would be more. He'd make more sense in the summer for me, mate. So.
Yeah, no, you're bang on, mate. The dribble aspect of it is important, and I think it shows you've got a player there that can beat a man. And we're not going to get into a Sebastian Haller critique on this video, but certainly it isn't suiting Haller's game to try and take on players. And I think West Ham, particularly with the way we play, whether it's a 4-2-3-1 or we play with a wing-back system, we need mobility with such a functional side. And you look at someone like Josh King, the versatility from possibly even either wing up front as well, as we've mentioned. It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly. Pace. If you have pace in your team, it's going to hurt teams, isn't it? That's why Antonio's so effective. That's why, Antonio's not as quick as he was, is he? But, a few seasons ago when he used to come off the bench or he used to start him, he used to run him behind and cause teams fear. And Josh King's got that. And like you said, you need mobility on the wings or up top in a system that we play to benefit other players as well. And say if you had King near Haller last night, King's going to get the best out of Haller because it'll free up more space for him.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Last night I'm not critiquing Haller because he didn't get the service, so you can't say he had a poor game because he didn't. There was no excuse for him to have a poor game. He didn't have any service. But if you get dynamic players like King and Benrahma around Haller, like in the Leeds game where he actually played well, then you get the best out of players like that. But I'm not sure, mate. But in terms of King, it'd suit our system. I think he's a no-brainer. So hopefully we can get it done.
Do you want to touch on this stat, mate? Because I'm not as well versed in it. The SCA per 90, full for Bournemouth. What does it mean?
Basically, mate, it means shot creating actions is something where if you have a shot and it kind of creates an action for another player, it's that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, so
it's as simple as it sounds, really. Yeah. So if King has a shot and it creates a scenario where someone else has a follow-up shot or King shot save, that's a shot creating action.
okay.
So again, it highlights how dangerous he can be in and around the box. He's fourth. Fourth isn't the best. You think he'd be higher, to be fair. But it's consistent and across the board for the last few seasons. He's been up there for shot creating actions, which is important and ranked against our squad last season. I think he was third or second. So for him to get into them positions and highlight his threat, he's good in aerial as well. He's good in the air. So
yeah,
that's a good start that shows what a nuisance and a good asset he can be.
Well, he's efficient, mate, isn't he? Even with the goal contributions, we could sit here and say, I think the perception of Josh King is he's a natural finisher, and that is true. But I think just in that Bournemouth side, what he offers going forward offensively, we've even mentioned the crosses there, could offer West Ham a different look. And I think we don't have the best squad depth in the league, let's be clear. And I think having someone like a Josh King that even you could play off the left, possibly being like Benrahma into that 10 role, you've got chances here to change things up. And I think that's what, for me, is probably the most attractive thing about that transfer.
Yeah, definitely, mate. He's King's played with kind of flair players over the years at Bournemouth, and with Wilson and Fraser, so he knows that kind of system. And I think King would be, a no-brainer to get in. It makes sense. It's obviously in installments, which suits Sullivan. Cheap, really, isn't it? So it's sensible, rather than going for a gambling bull idea or the Abdallah Sima, who might not hit the ground running. They might take more time to adapt, need some games under the belt in pre-season. King will come in straight away and he'll start firing because he knows the league. So that's why you look to get him in, and hopefully Moyes can do that.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. I reckon he just suits Moyes' system, suits Moyes as a player. Again, I just hope that he, in terms of that fitness, we touched on it as well. Obviously, he's kind of a bit out of that Bournemouth side. They're trying to keep him fit for that transfer. We've just got to hope that kind of, he doesn't need too many games to bed in. We've seen with Benrahma, and he was playing quite regularly. The amount of games that he's waiting for him to fit to the side. But like we've touched on, I think just as a player, I think he fits the system, and I think that's why we'll see him more frequently. Fingers crossed we sign him. You've mentioned this geezer, and I've got to be completely honest, mate. I haven't seen too much of him. It is Abdallah Sima. No surprises, he's from Slavia Prague. Give us a little rundown on this player. What can we expect from him?
So he started off in the French fifth tier. He got released. He was on trial for another team, and then Slavia Prague actually spotted him. So he then went on to sign for their B team, and then this season is kind of, the birth of Sima, if you like. So obviously 18 appearances in all comps, 13 goals in all comps, which is the most for them. He's just a breath of fresh air, mate. He's a very unusual striker. I haven't seen a striker like him for some time, and the fact that he's very, he's got quite a slender physique, but he's really tall. He's good aerially. His touch is quality. He's got pace, and he can finish as well. His finishing is very good. He's like a Soucek, but up front.
Shock horror.
Yeah, he is like that. His goals per 90 is 1.33, which is the most for them. So he's just come out of nowhere, mate. I don't think Slavia Prague expected that he'd hit the ground running as he has, because obviously coming from the French fifth tier, it's a different ball game, isn't it? Really, compared to where he is with Slavia Prague. I think he's defo someone we will look at, obviously, because the connections we now have there and relationship we have with Slavia Prague. But I think he's he's 19 years old. So if you can nurture him up to be a top talent, and he's got the physique to be in the Premier League, he's got the strength's not quite there yet. Obviously he's still got development in him. He needs to bulk up a bit, maybe. But I think he's definitely someone we should look at.
It's promising, mate. 13 goals in a breakthrough season. Obviously, in 18 appearances is unreal. Despite the league, it shows that he has that finishing ability. I mean, where would he fit in this West Ham side? I'm not sure. I look at him and positionally and possibly think, is he going to be a starter? Is he someone that maybe West Ham bring in and we bring on, and he's kind of a bit of squad depth, possibly competing with a Bowen? Or are we looking at that striking area and saying he could possibly become a fully fledged, almost like a number 9?
This is what I like about him, in the fact that he can play anywhere, mate. Anywhere across that front three, he can. So again, the versatility is something that's key for me. The versatility up front is something we don't really have. Other positions we've got covered. We've got 2 players there, but you need 2 players for every position, don't you? Yeah. And for me, you got experience there, saying Josh King and Antonio Haller's a good age now as well, if he's there for much longer, but you need someone like a Sima, 19-year-old, who you can develop and is a bit of a project along the way. And will be a good project for him too. And he's like you said, he's clearly got ability. In terms of where he'd fit in, I think Moyes would probably view him as a striker. I think he's got the attributes to play there. But for Slavia Prague, when you watch him score on the goals, he normally comes from the right and kind of drifts in. Because Slavia Prague, they play quite direct, so they go over the top to Sima, and that's where he hurts them. And last night that could have been useful too. But his versatility is a good option to have, and obviously his goals per game's very attractive as well. So I think we'll watch his development closely over the next few months and see how he goes from there. But I think he's a talent, mate, for sure.
Is he right-footed or left-footed?
He's right-footed.
God, see, look, I miss that, man. I miss that directness of a wide player. I think, obviously, with Bowen cutting in on his left and when Ben Brahma plays on his right, as before now, it's typical of the Premier League. Inverted wingers is obviously a massive part of it, but you do look at West Ham on transition, and we do miss that directness. I'm not saying that Bowen isn't, but someone to take it to the byline and start to stretch defences and create space, and that would excite me if we could bring a player like that in. And obviously, you've still got the option then to possibly even play him off the left, coming in onto his right. So there are lots of opportunities with him. And listen, we obviously know with our apparent lack of money that versatility in positions is crucial. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on him. And sounds a good player, mate. Sounds a good player.
Yeah, the player I'd liken him to, mate, who's played for West Ham recently, is Demba Ba.
Interesting.
If you nurtured him into that striker role, his kind of physique, and Demba Ba was good in the air, and he was good with his finishing as well, and his mobility similar to Demba Ba's, I'd say. So he's that kind of a player. And Sima, I'm not saying he'd live up to Ba's potential, but I think he'd get goals in the Premier League if you played him in the right system and if you played to his strengths.
Interesting, man. Interesting. Look, I'll keep my eye on it. Like you say, it's probably more of a summer one, that one. But you never know with West Ham. You never know. Let's talk about this man. I know we spoke about him in the summer, and it was almost like a flippant discussion. Was of course John Lundstram from Sheffield United, and we kind of both laughed it off and said, I don't know if that's going to happen. But we're still linked with him. Moyes is still keen on the player. He hasn't signed a contract with Sheffield United. Just before we come to the stats, mate, your thoughts on Lundstram possibly joining in January, and do you think he adds something different to the squad?
Yeah, I do. I think he would add something different, mate. I think he gives you that physical presence of what Noble had a few years ago, where he'll get stuck in. He was key to Sheffield United's good season last season. He's a bit of a complete midfielder. He's like Soucek in a way. He's box to box. Obviously, if you want Rice to sit and do the simple things and that transitional play, Lundstram would be a good partner. And to be fair, after obviously Cullen left, we do need depth there. It only takes one injury, as we've said. So I think he would, mate. Yeah, I think he's a good player.
Yeah, I rate him. I'm not sure technically. Obviously, there is always a question mark, particularly with some of Sheffield United's player, their technical aspects. But physically, I think he's fantastic, and I think the pressing, which obviously you've highlighted in these stats, 303 midfield pressures, the most in that Sheffield United side for a pressing side. It is important, and you saw last night with Noble, albeit it didn't work. We need almost like another winger to press, another midfielder to press, and not only to press, but have that athleticism to carry the ball. And for me, Lundstram seems like that type of mould of player.
He does. When we played Sheffield United last season, at home and away, they were relentless. Wilder got them pressing all the time. Lundstram was key to that in a kind of pivot midfield three. Fleck was in behind, but they were all pressing wide and pressing everywhere. They were on you every single time. And Lundstram was key to that. Last night, say if you had Lundstram in Noble's position, Lundstram's going to cause a bit of havoc because we're getting in around you. He's strong. He's good in a tackle. He can pass the ball as well. I think he's definitely a good player to have. And obviously he won't be at Sheffield United much longer. So if you can get him in on the cheap again, he's a very good option to have, mate. And like on the stats you've shown there, 8 goal contributions, second last season for Sheffield United. With the likes of McBurney, Mousset, McGoldrick, you'd be expecting him to be lower down the pecking order. But going forward, he can get into good positions as well. And he's just a good player to have, mate. He's a good midfielder. He's rash, as we saw the other night. He's got that tendency in him, but he gets stuck in, mate, and that's what you need. Yeah,
for me, it's the athleticism, and it's just that, and it isn't to say, our first choice midfielders are of course Rice and Soucek, but it'd be nice to have an option where we didn't feel that it was impacting on the way that we play. And I think he gives us options in different systems as well, in a 4-2-3-1, maybe. If you wanted to play almost like a bit of a pressing number 10 rather than a creative, you could use him there. You could use him possibly in in a flat midfield 3. There's so many options with Lundstram. The price that he's available for, I think, it's been quoted as less than $1 million. In the modern day, I know we give a lot of stick to the owners, and quite rightly so, but if we got him for 750k, I'd be laughing, mate.
No, yeah, exactly. Like you said there, mate, he's kind of a utility player where he can play anywhere. A bit like James Milner, he could play right back if you wanted him to. He could play cam.
Probably will for West Ham then.
yeah, probably. He'd probably be in goal, won't he, when Fabianski goes? But
I've already got 2 of them on the bench, mate. I think we'll be all right.
We're covered with that. But now he's, looking at that bench last night, did we even have midfield cover? Did we even have a central midfielder on the bench? I can't remember.
This is the problem, mate. Snodgrass is that centre midfield cover in theory, and we've got 4 defenders on there. For me, there's not enough balance in terms of the attacking players that we can bring on. I know it's a massive change from a few seasons ago when we had loads of attacking players that we could bring on, but now very defensive orientated. It's just the midfield that worries me, mate. I think we put so much importance on Declan Rice and Soucek's. Not only their performances because they're consistent, but their fitness. And we're very, very fortunate that both of them are incredibly fit and they're relatively injury free. If one of them goes and you put Noble or Snoddy in there, that mobility, the ability to press has gone. The quality as well of the passing, we forget that of both those players. So it is a huge miss if one of them drops out.
Yeah, it's a good point, mate. If you had Lundstram last night, you could put him next to Rice and move Soucek further up. So it's that versatility again that you kind of need. And midfield's key for that area because, like you said, if Rice or Soucek get injured, then you're short, aren't you? And Lundstram, 80% pass completion last season, second as well. So he's got an eye for a pass. He's got a bit of everything in his game, like kind of a modern day Scott Parker, where I'm not comparing him to Scott Parker.
Yeah, I was thinking, God, they're gonna come for you, mate, in the comments. But yeah, I know you mean.
Game here, but people will see what I mean in terms of that comparison. Obviously, the miles apart, but that's what West Ham need now because Noble's legs are going a bit and he's getting a bit older now. You're thinking you need someone to kind of step up and replace him. And Lundstram, he wouldn't be my first choice, mate, to be honest with you, but for that price and his experience and last season, the influence he had on Sheffield United, and how much they're missing him this season because there's a bit of he's upset the camp a bit. I think it's a no-brainer. So hopefully again we can get it done. So
fingers crossed. Well, listen, mate, we'll rank the transfer targets at the end to see what one needs to be prioritised. Last man, and this guy's been on the cards for a long, long time. It's Frederick Alves.